Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Zebo Nation Plays Football Manager 2017. This is the beta version, and as you can see, this is our build a club, Lansing United. And we are now officially a member of the MLS here. Last season, we just played a bunch of friendlies. We played out the season as a member of the second division, even though we didn't really have any games to play. But we've done quite a number of things since that last video. I went on vacation, first of all. The first time I've ever gone on vacation in one of the, I played FM16, 20 seasons, never went on vacation one time. So I went on vacation at the end of last season just to get to the season when I'm actually going to play in the MLS. And there's something you should know about MLS. If you're going to do this kind of thing, if you're going to take one of these expansion teams and you're going to go on vacation, don't go on vacation past November 30th, because that's when the MLS season officially ends. It's when the MLS Cup is. And so a week after that, the next season starts. So November 30th is pretty much the day. If you're going to go on vacation, that's the day. So what happens in the off season? What goes on? Well, a lot of different things happen. First of all, you start getting some MLS money. You start getting some MLS sponsorships. So as you can see here, our finances have skyrocketed. They've gone from a little under $150,000 overall balance for our club when we were second division. Now just moving up to the MLS, now we've launched up into 13 million, which is not great for most clubs, but for a club that's coming from a $150,000 total budget to 13 million, I mean, that's just amazing. As you can see here, we've had a few sponsorship deals, which is new. We didn't have sponsorship deals prior to the MLS. We've got some interesting income. Most notably is the television revenue, so that really helps a lot. We've got season ticket sales now that are doing well. Now we got some other money that we had from friendlies and things like that. So we've been doing well financially, so that's good. What else is there to think about? Let's see, our competitions. We're in the Western Conference, so that's new for me. I always took Toronto FC in my previous place, so that was Eastern Conference. So it'll be fun getting to know these Western Conference teams a little better, because when you play in the other conference, you do play all the teams, but you only play them maybe once or twice a season. You don't, it's not like the teams you really get to know in your own conference. So let's talk about expectations from the board. During the offseason, I signed a new 2-year contract, so that was good news, even though I signed it during vacation. So it's good that they let me sign that during vacation and just say, oh, you were on vacation, so no contract, so your game is over. So I guess they've thought of that programmatically wise. But as far as our board is concerned, we've had some status changes as well. Because prior to this season, our board owner, Bill McGuire, he was looking to get out of the game as quick as possible. Like, he was, I don't know if he was going to sell the team or what he was doing, but it said here that he would leave as soon as possible. But now that we're starting to bring in some money and started actually being a money-making venture for him, now he says he feels he'll never leave the club. Board has indicated, that's another thing, is the board has dropped a lot of restrictions. So previously, we had a lot of restrictions in terms of our salary, in terms of our transfers, in terms of even our scouting. They wouldn't let us scout out of the region. A lot of things that they've dropped now that we've started to bring in a lot of money. So I think that's something you got to look at if you're going to take one of these expansion teams, is you really have to focus on the business side of things. And that'll help free up some of the coaching side of things. Let's see what else. We have a transfer budget now, which before we had zero, $942,000. Very good. Let's see what else. Yeah, our transfer percentage has gone up. We only used to only keep 35%. Now we're keeping 70%. It's not great. When I was at Toronto FC, they let us keep 100%, but maybe we'll get there one day. The salary cap, currently spending $4.6 million per year. Next season. Anyway, our salary cap is okay. They've got some red numbers here. I'm not sure what that's all about, but I'll show you the team in a minute. First, let's talk about the off season. What's really important is in this first season, and even in MLS in general, you don't necessarily need the transfer market. It's fun to look at the transfer market. It's fun to go out there and try to choose guys and bring them in. But honestly, you don't really need it, especially in this first season, and I'll show you why. Looking at my transfers here, my transfer history. Look at all these draft picks I got in this first season and free transfers. Now, part of this is my own sort of wheeling and dealing. I really like the draft, so I try to get as many draft picks as possible. But in MLS, usually there are 3 drafts every season. But if you take one of the expansion teams in the first season, there'll be a 4th draft. So this is how the MLS drafting system works. And I tried to show some videos of this, but it just didn't come out. It was sort of boring, and me sitting there staring at the screen, deciding who to draft, and it wasn't exciting. So I'll just try to explain it to you. Immediately after the MLS season, maybe 1 or 2 weeks after the MLS Cup, there's a first ReEntry draft, and that draft is basically for players who were cut at the end of the last season, and you have the ability to draft those players and bring them back onto your squad. Well, not back onto your squad, but from another squad that cut them. So from that draft, I was able to get a couple of very good goalkeepers. I was able to get Zach Steffen and Andre Blake, who's my starter. Blake's my starter. Steffen is only 21 years old, but he's got a lot of potential. So I got my 2 key goalkeepers right from that draft. Then a couple months later, there's another ReEntry draft, and that draft has 3 different rounds, and that's a draft of other players who are cut after the season. So you got one draft of players cut at the end of last season, next draft of players cut after that season was over. And I didn't pick up anybody from that draft. There were a couple of guys in there that I wanted, but they got drafted before I got there, so I just opted out of that draft, because a lot of times in that draft you get a lot of high-priced players that maybe are older. You don't particularly want to take on those contracts. So I left those out, and I went to the big draft for me, which was the expansion draft. This is new. This is different. It's whenever new teams are brought into an American sports league, they usually have an expansion draft. I don't know if they have these in other leagues, because most leagues around the world, they have promotion and relegation, and they got new teams coming in and out of their leagues all the time. So it's not a big deal, but for an American sports league, it's a big deal to bring a new team in. So what they do is they have an expansion draft, and that allows you to pick players. Well, each team in the league currently has to pick a percentage of their roster and make them available for the draft. So these are players actually on their team. They have to make them available in the draft for free transfer. So think about that. That might blow your mind. So the only 2 teams that were able to participate in that were the 2 expansion teams. So this is a great way to get talent onto your team. And you can really find some key veterans and bring them on. And in that expansion draft, each team gets 5 picks. So Atlanta got 5 new players, and I got 5 new players. So that was extremely helpful. They were good players. You know, we had 188 players to pick from, so there's just a wealth of players there that you can bring into your team. And for that, a lot of those players were they weren't superstars or anything, because the teams will keep their superstars, but a lot of good mid-level players, a lot of good players that you can use to fill out your roster. So I got guys like Seth Sinovich, 30. You know, he's a 30-year-old left back, but you know, he was good for my team, and he was good enough to start for me. So I was able to pick him up on a waiver. Let's see, Jameson Olave, another older, as you can see, but not a huge contract, and you know, a solid defender, somebody who could just bolster my roster. So don't necessarily aren't going to get starters from the waiver draft or from the expansion draft, but you're going to get some good solid players, and there's a lot of players to choose from, so you can fill out your roster really well. And then the third draft of the season is my favorite draft, which is the MLS Super Draft, and that's where all the college players come to enter the MLS draft. And every team automatically gets 4 picks. There's 4 rounds. And as an expansion team, you get the first or second pick in every round. So you're going to be getting real good players. So I traded away my 4th round pick, because I don't really care about 4th round picks. But I had 2 first round picks, 2nd, and 2 third round picks. So I got a lot of young players, some really good players in the draft. And I was very, very, very excited about these guys. I got this cough that won't go away. You know, the players you get are going to be between 18 and 22, typically. The younger you can get, the better. So I was able to get some 21-year-olds who've got a lot of potential. Some of these guys are going to be starting. Some of these guys are going to be in the rotation. Other guys I'm going to send out on loan for a year, so that when they come back, I can put them in a starting lineup next year, because I got a lot of contracts that are expiring. So I really love the Super Draft. I really love building my team through youth. And for an American team, you know, you have to have a certain number of Americans on your roster, so it's a good way to just get American players for your team, young players who have a lot of potential. Then, after the Super Draft, I was able to get some free transfers. Again, not every player in the draft is going to get picked. So if you've done your scouting well, you can find some young players who don't make it through the draft. They don't get drafted, but they're still good players, and you can pick them up later for free because they don't have a team. So here I got 21-year-old, 18-year-old, and 21-year-old. You know, again, 3 American players, 3 young players, good potential. I can park them in my lower divisions and save them for later. Then the final draft of the season is after all that's been done, after rosters have been set. There's always a certain number of players that get cut, and they get put into a third and final re-entry draft. And this is where sometimes you can pick up some really good players who are aging. They might have larger contracts, but a lot of times their contracts are expiring. So if you can find the right guys for your team in that final draft, you can really boost your team. It's kind of like going out and getting an expensive transfer, except the transfer is free because it's part of a draft. So for that, I picked up Roman Torres, 30-year-old central defender, very good, automatically the best defender on my team. Picked him up. And then Jelano Wildenadem, I don't know how to pronounce this name. He's Dutch. I'm not too familiar with how the Dutch pronounce things. I'm going to have to do some research on that. But he's a left back. He's much more starter quality than the guy I picked up in previous draft. So basically, I bolstered half my defense in this one draft. So as you can see, I believe I picked up 15 players, 12 through the draft, 3 via free transfer. So basically what that means is don't go crazy with the transfer market when you're in the MLS. You're just going to end up spending too much money, bankrupting your team. So I would wait for those transfer market until later in the season when the Europeans, their seasons get rolling. Because once their seasons get rolling, they'll start offering you guys from their teams that they want to cut. And you'll have kind of your pick of the litter because they'll be trying to sell guys off cheap. And so that's my advice for the MLS offseason is wait on the transfer market, go through all your drafts, build your team through the draft, and then save your transfer money for a few key guys. Like I'm still looking for a knockdown striker. You know, if I can find just a great striker I can bring in for, you know, $500,000, something like that, then he can really be a boost to my team, you know, in the mid-season and get us over that hump. Because I've already solidified my defense, my midfield is good. I just need that key striker. So that's going to be my plan. Then the other part of this is trades. There are a lot of things you can do with trades. I like working the MLS trade system. If you're from Europe, you might not be too familiar with the trading system, how it works, especially where it pertains to draft picks. Now, being an American sports fan, I'm very familiar with this, especially playing other sports video games. Playing like NBA 2K is where I really learned how to master this kind of thing. Madden as well. The NFL doesn't trade quite as much as the NBA. You can get more action in the NBA. Whoa, look out. We got a buzz in our microphone. There we go. So here are some things that I like to do is if you can trade a player, if a team comes to offer you and you can add a 3rd round or 4th round pick to any deal, try to do that. Even if you don't really want these 3rd and 4th round picks, it's fine. Just try to stock up on those 3rd and 4th round picks, because what you can do is, as you can see here, I traded a guy named Stefano to NYCFC for 13th pick in the 3rd round. I didn't really want the guy, but I picked up an extra draft pick for him. Then what I was able to do is, well, for this one I picked the guy because that was the current draft. There was okay, that trade's not here because it was a 2016 trade. So there's a 2016 trade I made where I traded away a guy for 2 draft picks. I believe it was to NYFC also. I traded for their 1st and 4th round pick. So there it is right there. So I was able to package. Oh, that's a different trade. I'm getting confused. Anyway, I was able to package that 4th round pick with my 4th round pick and move up and get a better 3rd round pick. So that's the kind of thing you can do, trading 2 higher draft picks for 1 lower draft pick. That's a way to sort of manipulate the trading thing. The other thing you can do to manipulate is what I've done right here, is I'm trying to build my team with American players, which means I don't need my international slots that much. And in the MLS, this is a tradable option. It's a tradable asset, basically. So each MLS team gets a total of 8 international players. You can have, that's all you can have. But if you don't use all those 8 international player slots, you can trade them away. And teams are usually pretty eager to trade them away for draft picks. So as you can see here, I made another trade with New York City. Traded away an international slot for 2 draft picks, 3rd and 4th round. And then over here, I was able to trade away another international slot to Real Salt Lake for their 1st round pick in 2020. So I'm just, again, stocking up on those draft picks because it's just free transfers, free money, basically. Anything else? Let's see, the other trade I made was I traded away one of New York City's 4th round picks that I got from them for a guy they were trying to get rid of, a guy they had on the transfer list, and he's going to be my other starting defender. So again, I've got My entire starting defense I got for free. No transfer money whatsoever. Very, very good. So speaking of the team, let's take a look at our team. We're still going with the skipping man formation, but you can look and see how much our team has changed since last season. New goalkeeper, Blake, 4-star guy, very good. He's Jamaican, one of our few international players. Very good player, good one-on-ones and reflexes. That's what I like. Old man Brovsky is back, 28 years old. He's still going to be our team captain, so he's our one guy left over from last season on the defense. Torres, again, you saw where he came from. The draft. Carillion was the trade. I'm going to have to figure out how to pronounce this guy's name. We'll call him Giuliano. We'll just stick with the one-name Brazilian thing for him. Giuliano, again, he came from the draft, a different draft. Let's see. Then we got Mr. Mixelplix is back. Boateng is back. Those guys I picked up last season. Zusi is one of our draft picks, 21 years old. He's only playing right now because we've got a guy hurt, but that's okay. Alvarez, he was a free agent pickup from last season. He's really blossomed. 25-year-old German attacking midfielder. This guy's going to be a star for us, for sure. He's been scoring goals from that attacking midfielder position like crazy. Got Lang, he's on his way out, but we're going to give him one last hurrah, one last season. He's on the last season of his contract. We got a ton of young wingers just chomping at the bit to get in there. But we're going to give him one last hurrah. Also another Jamaican. And Christian Ramirez, 25-year-old American striker. He's our target man. Good finishing, you know, but he's not a great player. And he does the job, but he doesn't give us much extra. You know, he's not going to dominate a game and take over. Then we got reserves are very good. We're not going to go through all of those guys, but they're all basically draft picks and free transfers. So our whole bench is stocked with players. We got a few injuries, but nothing of note, honestly. I'm trying not to say honestly. Nothing of note, really. Just players who aren't really going to play that much for us anyway. A few of our guys on loan have been injured. Chris Manella is our backup. He's our reserve central midfielder. He's the only real blow here, but we got guys to replace him just easily. We picked up a youngster, 18 years old, Leon Charles. Get him some experience while Manella is injured. So there we go. That's our team right now. I don't know if you recognize any of these names. The only one I recognize is Mr. Mixelplix. Obviously, Mix Descarude, I believe is his real name. But none of these other guys I recognize at all. So they could be real, they could be made up. I have no idea. But let's roll into our first game of the season. First regular season game. We've gone through our schedule here. Our friendly schedule was pretty good. We scored a lot of goals this preseason. Only 2 losses. 1 to Seattle, 1 to Atletico Nacional. Even our backups got in there. Like we played our backups against Chicago in the final preseason game, and they won. They beat Chicago 1-0. Chicago may have been playing their backups as well, but it's a good sign when all your reserves can compete in the MLS. So very good. So what's ironic here is that our first match of the season is against Toronto FC, my former club from last game, FM16. So it'll be interesting to see how many of these players I recognize and remember. Let's take a look at their roster, see what they're all about. Another thing that's sort of hilarious to me is they're running the 4-4-2 diamond. That's the formation that I made famous with them, I guess, last season. So I don't know if they really run that. I don't remember that. I remember having to search for that formation. I don't think they played that. But They've got some weird stuff going on. Chiryu and Hagland, I do remember all these names, are unavailable. They've got a good goalkeeper in Irwin. They've got really good fullbacks. We got to keep an eye on these guys. Beltashore and Morrow. I remember getting like player of the year with these guys. Michael Bradley, I know that name. Will Johnson. They've got a very tough midfield. And of course, they've got the best player in MLS here, Giovinco. I just called him Gio when I had him. I changed his name actually to Gio. But yeah, I remember all these players, so it's cool to play a team you're familiar with. There's Josie Altidore off the bench. For a while when I was with them, I went to a 3-striker formation just to get Altidore on the field more often. Anything else we should be looking at for these guys? No, I think that's about it. Let's make sure we've got our starters in order. I think we do. Oh wait, we wanted to move Cruz up here for Zusi. He's our normal starter. He's been injured off and on, so we're going to have to keep an eye on his fitness levels. Alvarez, Lang, Ramirez, Boateng, Mixelplix. So our strength is our midfield, and now it's our defense. Before, our defense was a little shaky. Now look at this. We got 4-star guys all the way across defense and midfield. So these 6 guys right here are going to be the strength of our team, and part of that is going to be our instructions here. We're going to go counterattack. This worked well in the preseason. We're going to have a counterattack heavy strategy, direct crossing, higher tempo. We're going to drop a little deeper here, try to really cause some havoc on the counterattack. So there we go. Oops. Oh, I didn't set up my match squad. I hate that. Okay, so Allen goes to 7. This is going to be tricky. So we're going to want Blake. Needs Zusi. I don't know that we're going to have enough players to satisfy everything we need. We need a left winger. Pelosi. Seiler. We need a right winger. We need a central defender. We need a left back. So these are our subs. Right back, central defender, left back. Right wing, either attacking midfield or central midfield. Left wing, or he can also play midfield as well, and then striker. Right? We got all the positions covered. Okay. So let's get rid of these other. I've been playing preseason games for so long. I've been playing 2 years worth of preseason games. So there we go. We got our substitutes set, and we're ready to go. All right. Squad numbers need to be given to 3 players. He wants number 78? What kind of weirdo is he? I don't know. He's going to be playing left tackle for the Minnesota Vikings or something? 78. Okay. Okay, we need a number in the 30s for our fullbacks. 31's a good number. Torres, central defender. We usually like to give either 4 or 5, but that's taken, so we go to numbers in the 20s. 24 is a good number for a central defender. There we go. Submit squad. And away we go. First season in the MLS for the new FM 2017. Devious player. Devious? All the guys from ESPN are devious. I hate these guys. It's not the best weather forecast. How do you think conditions will affect your performance? We're from Minnesota. It doesn't bother us at all. It's always nice to start with a win and get points on the board, build up some momentum while you're confident you can get off to a good start. I'm confident, yes, we've had a positive preseason and are looking good. So they're going with the 4-4-2 diamond formation. We got our skipping man formation here, 4-2-3-1 wide, attacking. Well, no, counter-attacking, I guess. All right, let's apply some advice here. So I'm starting to see more of this pop up. I don't know if that's because I set it in my setup or not. I don't know. But I see it more than last season, so that's good. All right, we got to cover their fullbacks. We got to cover their strikers and their attacking midfielder. So there we go. Let's see. Let's give the pep talk. Come on, guys. Let's do what we can. Wait a minute. There was something I want to make sure. The opposition don't want to close down on their defensive midfielder. Yeah. There. Okay. Let's start the match. Here we are in snowy Toronto. Toronto FC. Here's the national anthem. Probably the Canadian national anthem, I would think. Maybe the American national anthem as well. We're in our blues. I don't know why we don't have our stripes uniforms on. Our stripes should be our away uniform. Don't know what's happening. They got their home reds on. I think they try to wear their reds everywhere. They had like sort of reds and then kind of purplish uniforms. And occasionally they had a white uniform, but not very often, if I recall. So, okay, our counterattack strategy is not working. Time is just 30 minutes of just crushed on by. So we're going to try to slow it down a little and see if that gets us any sort of traction in the last 15 minutes here. Okay. Here we go. Let's see if we can get some highlights. Maybe possessing the ball is what we want to do. Although it's kind of tough to do that against the 4-4-2 diamond because they got so many guys in the middle of the field that it's very hard to possess the ball down there because you got a defensive midfielder to deal with. You got the central midfielders pinching in on you from the sides. Okay, yes, definitely keep track of old GM1. So we got no highlights. We got nothing to look at. What are our highlights set at? Key. Okay. Calm. Let's see. We can still come out of this with a win tonight. Let's look at our instructions. Let's be more disciplined. Let's retain possession. See if that gets us anything. We're still going to stay in the counter. We still want to be a little bit cautious, I think. Mr. Lang taking it out wide. Here we go. Here's a highlight for us. I guess our defense is doing well if they're not getting there. Lang. Oh, nice cross. Nope. Straight to Irwin. Irwin's too good a goalkeeper for that kind of nonsense. And I think people who complained about the fullback goals last season will be pleased to know that I haven't seen one of them yet. So that's good. You know, in terms of the fullback crossing the ball from way out and just sort of lofting over the goalkeeper's head. I haven't seen that one time. Okay, we're still going to close down on GM1. Looks like we might be heading to Draw City here if we don't do something. Draw on the road isn't the worst thing. You know, sometimes you get a little over eager. You want to attack and score a goal, but oh boy, look out. Okay, nice head. Mr. Mixelplix got the header of that GM1 shot. They still got the highlight here. Let's see if we can get a counterattack going. Nope, nope, nope. Off the post. Get there. Nice, nice, nice. Geo is so dangerous. Okay, let's see what sort of instructions we can do. Let's go a higher tempo. Should we go attacking? Or no, let's not go attacking. Alright, wait a minute. Let's cancel this. Let's look at our substitutions. Let's put our fullbacks into attack. See if that gets us anywhere. Some substitutions to make shortly. Let's see, Boateng is the most tired. So we'll bring in Blake for him. It's really our only option there. Yeah, he can stay at deep lying. Playmaker, make him a support player again. A little more offensive with our positions, just not going crazy. Then, do we want to bring out Torres? Not really. There's not a lot of other substitutes I feel like making at the moment, so it's early in the season. It's good to let our players play out the string, I think. See how they play while they're tired. 5 minutes to go in regulation. Okay, let's pause it there. 1 minute to go. Let's see if we can get our instructions in here. See if we can create one counterattack in the last couple of minutes to steal this game. Go 2 minutes of stoppage. Be nice to get a nope, nothing. We get one corner kick chance, no good. And there it is. Not exciting in the least. We had barely any highlights, but you know what? We got away with a draw. One of the better teams in the league. Toronto FC is up there. So well done, guys. You proved many people wrong. Let's go to the post-match analysis here. Giovinco didn't do nothing. 6.9 rating. So again, those defensive improvements we made, you know, we shut him down. He had one quality chance, but just kind of luck that it went with the crossbar. But other than that, we shut him down. Player of the match, Torres. Well, Mixoplix didn't have a great game either, but Torres had a 7.8 rating, 24 interceptions. Look at that guy go. Look at that guy go. 30 years old, Panamanian defender. Picked him up free as a bird. Valued $1.8 million. Enjoy. Enjoy. So I guess the other thing I wanted to look at was job security. We've improved up to 55%. We were at, I think, 49% to start the season. Let's look at our competitions. So the board don't have much in terms of expectations for us this season. Finish the bottom of the league. The minimum expectation is to finish at the bottom of the league. That's no expectation at all. Then avoid finishing at the bottom of the supporter shield. So basically, I don't know what that means. So in the one, it's okay to finish at the bottom. Of the other, avoid finishing at the bottom of the supporter shield. So I think that's going to be more than doable. You know, we'll finish mid-table, as they say, without a doubt. And then the U.S. Cup reached the 5th round. Well, that's fine because we're going to enter in the 4th round. So basically this season is like free. We could lose every game and I don't think they would care. So there you go. There's our first season for the MLS. We'll come back at the quarter season, which is what I like to do. So we'll get 4 games. We'll get the quarter season, the half season, the 3/4 season, the season finale, and then if we make the playoffs, we'll be in the playoffs, and we'll show the U.S. Cup games as well. And if there's any other sort of special thing that pops up, we'll show that. But until then, I'll see you later. Bye.